Welcome back to the Plan Your Federal Retirement Podcast. I'm your co-host, Micah Shalansky, and with me is a legendary financial advisor, my father, Floyd Shalansky. Pops, how's it going?
Doing fantastic. It's this time of the season, it's the holiday season, and I just thoroughly enjoy it. Yeah.
Yes. Happy New Year to all of our listeners. I know this pod is going to air at the first of the year, and we're really excited to kick off an amazing 2024 and really talk about some great things that are coming up. So I hope you had a very Merry Christmas during this point in time. Maybe took a little time off with the family, and hopefully today is still a day off for you. But if not, we got this 2024 coming up, and there's going to be some amazing things that can happen this year. But it all starts with taking action and looking at it in advance. Right, Dad?
Without a doubt, it's a taking action side. And I hope our listeners don't confuse New Year's resolutions with taking actions, only because New Year's resolutions sound good on December 31st, maybe the 1st, and by January 14th, Valentine's Day, they might be ancient history.
Yeah, they're done by then, right? They kind of weigh their play. That was cute. That was nice. I tried a little too hard. I did something a little different, and it's not sticky changes.
Yeah, I'm going to lose weight. Well, okay, and I'm going to exercise. That one there always gets me because, I tweaked my shoulder. Oh, well, I can't do that. Well, when I feel better, I'll get around to it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all those things, right? And that's when we're talking with our clients, and I know you're a big proponent of this as well, is what we call sticky changes, right? Anything that we want to do, we want to have just incremental sticky changes. I don't want to go big. I don't want to do this big thing because I'll do it for a couple of days and it's never going to happen. It's like, financial dieting, right? Financial dieting is trying to get a budget in place. And it says, this sounds great. You're going to take a course or whatever. And I'm going to do this financial budgeting. And like you said, Pops, you're going to do it for 7 days. And you're going to say, this sucks. I'm not going to do it. Then you're going to binge spend. And then all of a sudden you're going to be off that budget. You're going to be off your cash flow planning. So when we're doing things, regardless on where you are in your finances, it's really important to know what is your cash flow. This is really, really important. Cash flow is the heartbeat of retirement. And Dad, this is something that we see just day to day with our clients, whether they're aspiring to be retired, they want to be the financial independence, they're in accumulation stage, or if they're already retired, we see the same thing, don't we?
We do. And, years and years and years ago, and I'll tell a story just quickly on Micah. We were doing a program up in Fairbanks, and he sat down with two people that ultimately became still clients today, many, many years later, and they were librarians. I don't know about you, but sometimes when we hear someone's nomenclature, their job title, something comes to mind. And when we talked about a librarian, I didn't think we would see they had very 0000 with numbers in front of it in the checkbook. And I remember Micah's conversation. He looked at him and said, "How did you do this?" And their response was classic. And what was their response, Micah?
He looked at me and says, "Micah, it's not that hard. You just spend less than you make."
Yeah, that's how easy it is. Not simple, but that's how easy it is, right?
Yeah, and it takes hard work, right? So on there, it's a simple concept, but it's hard to implement and hard to stay on top of this. So getting into this new year, let's talk about some new things that we should be thinking about. Now, we're going to have another pod that's going to be coming that says all the great New Year changes and updates to your benefits, all really good stuff. I'm going to be doing that with Tammy here shortly. But Dad and I wanted to get together and talk about just kind of what are the core things we need to be thinking about. So number one, of course, is going to be that cash flow. Now, we talked about cash flow planning before on the podcast. The best cash flow plan that you can do is the one that you're actually going to do. It's the best diet. It's the best exercise program, right? It's the one you're actually going to do. So this isn't something that should be super complex. It should be relatively simple. You can look at on a monthly basis or every couple of weeks. You should know what your top 5 categories of expenses are. Where does your money go on a monthly basis? I mean, hey, am I in range in that spending alignment? That's really important.
Mike, I met with a client last night, making very good income. All right, single provider, but doing an excellent job on it. And when I said, "How do you spend your money?" and his wife looked at me and looked at him and says, "It comes in and it goes out. It comes in and goes out." And they said, "We want to get control of it. How do we do it?" And typical wants to bring out a spreadsheet. And I close the spreadsheet up over and I says, "What does it cost to run the household every month?" "I don't know. Let me see my spreadsheet." I said, "Well, see, therein lies our challenge." And I said, "What I really want you to do for the next 30 days, 45 days, I want you to write, not type, write down exactly. I bought a coffee. I did this. I bought a soda. I went to McDonald's. We went out for supper. I don't care what you spend. Write it down with the numbers." And here's what I'll tell you. I will bet you a Coke that when you come back, you'll automatically change your spending habits. And, we work hard. We work 40, 50 hours a week. The kid, if you got kids, oh my goodness gracious. Last weekend, my great granddaughter kept us going Thursday night, Friday night, all day Saturday. And by Sunday, it's like, what happened? So we know we're busy, and it's easy to one off. Oh, we'll order Instacart, bring food into me. All right. We'll do all these things to make our life easier, but we don't realize what the net cost is. And the cost today may be frivolous, you think, but what happens if you can't control that before you get ready to retire, before you go on fixed income, before the pension plans start to come? So creating really good sticky habits is just crucial as we go into the next year.
It's 100%, Pops. As we get into this year, right? What are the things that we're thinking about? What are the things that we need to change? Now, and I like what you said about writing these things down. And it's just the exercise alone makes the difference, right? And scientists talk about this, right? Just observing something changes the results, changes the outcome of it. And that's exactly what we're going for, is financial awareness. I don't need down to the penny where all of your money went. Generally, that type of level of scrutiny isn't needed. What is needed is you being aware of how and where you spend your money. Now, a couple of quick hacks on this one. We're all creatures of habit. So one of the things is when I go to checkout, it's subconscious. I grab my wallet, I grab my credit card, I go to put it in there, right? But now I'm going to throw that credit card in there. I'm not going to think about what I'm spending. I'm really not going to jot anything down, etc. So I need to change my habit. Right now, assuming you're not driving, take your wallet out and move your credit card to a different spot. Now, you're going to see, Micah, this is really silly. Well, sure, it is, right? But we're creatures of habit. Now, when I go for my wallet and I go for that credit card, it's not there. Now I have a pause. It'll brief, oh crap, did I forget my credit card, right? So you're going to have a little bit of that shock, but then it's going to be, oh wait, what did Floyd talk about? Aha, he talked about writing down what we spend our money on. And then you're going to have a brief pause where you can write down what that was. Then you can get your credit card out and do it. It's about creating these little changes that can make a massive impact.
Micah, right now, as you said that, don't get mad at me. I can imagine the millennials saying, oh, no sweat, I use my phone, right? I check out my credit cards. I can see all of that. And there's this one couple last night. I go, I got it. But you know what? Tell me the last charge on your credit card. I don't know. Tell me the last time I don't know. What your mom and I do when we go out to for dinner for ourselves, I don't bring out the credit card. I pay cash.
That's not true. You just pass the bill to me. I've been at dinner with you. I know how that works. You put like a $10 in there and you pass it on down. Be like, no, that's about my portion. Like, what do you mean that's your portion?
Oh, whenever I can with you or your sister, without a doubt.
Your drink was $10.
Well, you didn't say anything about drinks now. Point being, of course, is that we don't track. And if any of you happen to carry cash with you anymore and you put a $100 bill down, what happens once you break it? Tomorrow it's gone. So we don't track. And I use it just as an example because, like you said, we're creatures of habit. I call it plastic magic. You pull out the credit card, magically it gets paid. Magically it gets paid. But what it doesn't do is give us tracking, right? Now, if you want to put your household electricity, natural gas, so on automatic pay and track at the end of the year, I'm good with that because you're going to pay it anyway. But it's that other stuff. It's Amazon.com. It's PayPal. It's this subscription from Apple. It's that streaming device. You ever sit down this time of the year and just go on Apple and look at all the subscriptions you may have? When's the last time you logged on to Disney or Paramount? Well, it's not a lot of money, Floyd, but you take out over a year, all those subscriptions would be $1,000, $1,500.
Yes, it's about being aware on that side. Now, it's actually kind of funny. Not only do we work, as our listeners know, with a lot of federal employees, several financial advisors have actually hired us to come in and say, hey, we want you to build a financial plan for us. And it's nothing against them in their own right as financial planners, but they wanted to have another coach come in and say, hey, really look at what we're doing and kind of hold us accountable to these things. So kudos to them. I think that's solid financial planning advice, is to make sure you're following your own advice, bringing down someone in to look at this. But Dad, it was funny. I was meeting with another advisor and his wife, and I did that same thing. I was talking about cash flow, and he paused, and I looked at him through Zoom, and he's like, I want to pull up my spreadsheet right now, but this is exactly what we tell clients not to do.
Exactly.
So he laughed, and it's exactly right. Right now, I am just as guilty of it as the next person. When I don't have awareness, I have no idea where my money goes. Now, this is where Dad and I are going to disagree just a little bit, have two different ways of doing this just a little bit. So it'll be fun listen for you guys. What I like to do with my spending, because I still like plastic magic. Yes, I bring cash. I don't like writing down everything I spend money on. Again, what's the best program that works? Dad's idea is fantastic, but I'm not going to do that. I know I lack that discipline to write down every single transaction, every single place I go. Okay, so I got to do something different that works for me. And what works for a lot of my clients as well, and I know this is crazy, but we talked about it before on the podcast, is I actually have 5 different credit cards that we use to track our spending. Now, you could be saying, well, Micah, I have one credit card and at the end of the month, it tells me exactly where I spent my money. Great. Then how much did you spend on entertainment last month without looking it up? And if you know that, well, then fantastic, you're good. If you don't know that, that's why we've devised this other system. I like to break spending down between 3 and 5 categories. 3s are minimum, 5s are maximum because it's easier to keep track of. For me, household, travel, entertainment, medical, and kids. Those are the top 5 areas that we're spending money on. Household, travel, entertainment, medical, and kids. So I got 5 different credit cards with those. Now, when I go to check out for something, I'm making sure to use that correct credit card. And then I know at the end of the month, okay, how much should my household bills be? Should be between X and Y. Was that credit card between X and Y? If it was, sweet, we get a gold star, we move on with life. If we go to entertainment, it should be between X and Y, but it was Z. Okay, it's a great conversation with my wife and I really quick. Hey, my love, it looks like this month we're slightly over on our entertainment side. Just wanted to bring a little awareness in here. No action needed. Notice what I did not say. I did not say, sweetheart, you are over budget in the entertainment, right? If you're married, you already know what I'm talking about. That does not bring financial harmony, right? We're a team in this one. So the first month, it's like, hey, we're a little bit over. Let's bring awareness to it. And that's about it. Now, if we're over 2 months in a row, now we need to have a little bit more of a conversation. Do we need to realign how much we need to spend? Where's this coming from, et cetera? But I know every month where my money goes to those top 5 categories. Now, to your point, if I dug into the household, says, hey, tell me every single household transaction, well, I probably couldn't off the top of my head. I could give it a good go, but I'm sure I would miss things. But I know how much a month I spend entirely on my household. And that's the goal that we need to have.
You know, Mike, I'm laughing here, as you see, sometimes we're smiling as well as you. But, the first thing you said about the credit cards, having 5, we all subscribe to that. Your mom and I have a travel card and so on and so forth, right? So you have dynamite. But when you said that, I recall an old magazine, I don't even exist anymore, called Money Magazine. And back in the 80s, it said the average household had 5 to 10 credit cards and they were all maxed out. So when Micah talks about 5 credit cards, or we talk about using credit, we're not talking about carrying a balance every month, forward and forward and forward. All right. One of my clients says, hey, this travel card is great. I'm getting all this miles, and then we pay it off about once a quarter. And I asked him, do you know what the interest rate is? Oh, that's 5 or 7. And we pull it up, 29%.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, what? I didn't know that. I said, you got to be aware of it. So if you use credit, use it wisely, of course, and make sure you pay those credit card bills off every month. Don't let them lag on, all right? And the other thing that I encourage you to do, a little different than Micah, a lot of my clients, I take a weekly budget, take a monthly budget. So if you're going to spend $500, $600, $700 on going out and entertainment, if you put it in cash and you reach in that pocket and you only got $20, maybe you're going to McDonald's and you're not going someplace else. Just a thought.
Yeah, I don't know if $20 will get you anything at McDonald's, but yeah, same concept though, right?
Yeah,
what cash do we have? Now, again, this is a system because I'm a bit more of a saver versus a spender. I can make sure we're paying those credit cards off. I have some clients, nothing wrong with them, Pops, to your point, they're a bit more spenders than savers. The credit card strategy is not a good plan for them. They will outspend those credit cards. Okay, great. This is when we need cash. This is when we need separate bank accounts, the same concept with it. I love it. All right, so talking about sticky changes, right? Cash flow, you can tell we get all excited about this. And you might think this is so basic. Well, it's so key, right? This is something you have to have. It's like oil in your car, right? It's something basic, but if you don't have it, things will blow up. And this is my friend with a Tesla is going to be like, not me, Micah. I got a Tesla. But for the rest of us pure mortals, we need to have oil in the car or it's going to blow up. You got to understand your cash flow or you're going to have problems. So,
yeah, without a doubt.
With this concept of sticky changes, right? Little changes that we can do that's going to go on there. Pops, let's talk about saving money this next year. And I know one of the things that we talked about is anytime, well, actually, you talk about anytime we have unexpected money, we kind of have a generally rule of thumb of what we like to do about that. So, how does that work?
Unexpected money. So you get a bonus, and it's substantial, not $1,000 or $2,000, but it's 10, 15, or 20 grand. What I always tell my clients is take 10% and just spend it. You're going to do it anyway, so just take 10% and spend it, all right? And if this is money that you weren't counting on, it was kind of a surprise, let's take 50% of it, and I call it pay it forward. So if you're not maxed out that 401k plan or your thrift savings plan, we want to do that. If you haven't funded your IRA, well, you can't because you make too much money. Well, you can do the backdoor Roth, all right? So we can fund it and we can still shift it. Let's pay it forward with 50%. Then take 25%. And I used to call it a travel account. I call it adventure accounts now. So throw this money over in this other account, and that's to save for the vacations. That's to go heli skiing, to scuba diving, something you just want to do. And here's the real key, though. No more than 25% of that bonus to improve lifestyle.
Yes.
And that's what so many times happens is we see these large fluxes of money, and they get rid of the credit card and they do all this stuff, but they don't save. And then all of a sudden, well, I got this money now. So here comes a new car payment. Here comes this other payment. And all of a sudden we see that beyond our means, the expenses start to take over. So I love percentages, as you know. If we get in the habit of 50%, 25, 10, and so on, it's easy. You get a pay raise. Your check goes up $100. Well, the $100 doesn't go to improving lifestyle, only a percentage of it.
I love that. And again, large bonuses are great, but day-to-day stuff, right? It's a step increase. You're getting a cost of living adjustment, pay raises, any of those things, minimum 50% put towards the future, right? I love that idea. And that could be the TSP is a great place for it. Now you can put an extra $500 in there. It went from 22,500 plus catch up if you turn 50. Now it's 23,000 plus catch up the year you turn 50. The catch up remains the same at $7,500. So you can put over $30,000 inside of your TSP, and that's not including your 5% match, which is absolutely fantastic. So you can really save some money there. So if your paycheck is going up this year, let's apply that rule and say, hey, let's put 50%, let's increase that long-term savings. If we're increasing savings, not just lifestyle, it helps keep us on track for retirement.
Micah, if you're 5 or 7 years out from retirement, understanding that if you got dual income family and you say, well, we can't afford it. Well, what's going to happen in 5 or 7 years when your dual income becomes one or becomes none? And now it's pensions. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that Mike and I really strive to do with our pre-retirees is get them living off that what we project to be that future income. All right. And many of my clients at dual incomes, we've got one side of the equation, male or female, it doesn't make a difference, but we're banking almost 100% of their income, maxing the TSPs, maxing the 401k plans, stuffing the savings account up. So when they get ready to retire, we've got more than just a 401k plan. We have assets that through our retirement timeline, we know reasonably that you can make this adjustment from the month to month, day to day, week to week paycheck. You sell off under retirement. And it is your golden years. And you enjoy yourself because money's no longer a concern.
Amen. Right. These are really important things that we should be thinking about. Now, Pops, let's really focus on that latter part right there. What are we solving for? Right? Because all the times you can get caught up in kind of the technical stuff and how much should I save and how much should I invest? And those are all great things to chat about. And we can geek out about them right along with you. But this is all for a goal. What's the goal? At the end of the day, the goal is your financial independence. Now, it could be retirement, right? But we always like to say financial independence is what's the date, what's the age when you are eligible. That working is 100% optional. You don't have to go into the office and work. But some of us still love to work, right? We want to be financially independent. We want to keep going. Well, fantastic. That's great. Some of us want to hit that financial independence and we want to make a transition to retirement. Fantastic. That's great as well. So let's keep in mind what we're solving for. What's that age that you want to be retired or financially independent? Then, Dad, to your point, how much do you think you're going to spend in that period in time? And how do we start sampling that? How do we start living on that a little bit sooner? Let's find out if that's the right dollar amount for you.
Micah, and it's so crucial, don't compare yourself with the neighbor. I've had probably in the last quarter, I've had 5 clients go, Floyd, tell me, how am I doing comparing? Compared to what? Compared to what? Right? I've got clients that don't make triple digit incomes, and they save and save and save. And I have clients that have triple digit income And they're always, well, I don't have enough. Well, I can't max fund this. And, we're always shifting money here and there. All right. It's a matter of mindset. And then as you, Micah, and I know you and Tammy have talked about it, for the feds especially, we can pretty well project what the pension will be, pretty well project what the FERS
Supplement's going to be.
Supplement's going to be. And then we can project what Social Security is going to be. So we can get real close to what we think the income is going to be. Now, let's, for just conversation, we say it's $5,000 that you're going to have and you're spending 10. Well, now we know we have a gap of 5. We have to solve for that.
Mm-hmm.
And years ago, I would tell people my role was to get you to age 75 and then you're on your own. Well, now I'm telling clients, I'll get you to age 100. Micah and his sister were taking care of you. I may not be here, but we're going to get you to age 100 before we run out of money. And because we don't know when we're going to die. So making sure that transition is just so important, and not the average, but for you and your family.
Yeah, be careful when you read these Money Magazine reports or finance or the water cooler stuff, right? That says you need X amount of dollars, right? What are they solving for? This is a you question. And I'm the same thing, right? When people come in and I had 2 of them actually yesterday come in, new clients are like, hey, we want to know how we're doing compared to the average person. Well, the average person, like the average world person that lives, considerably in lower standards than us? Well, no, Micah, not that. Okay, well, the average person in the United States? Well, no, not that. The average person in Alaska? Well, no, the average person's in our circumstances. Aha, all right. So this is now a game. You want to see if you're better than the next person.
Yeah.
Well, if you're better than the next person, but you still run out of money in retirement, did you win? They're like, no. I said, okay, well then being better than the average really isn't what we're solving for then. What we're solving for is, are you on track for your retirement? And if you're on track for your retirement and you can hit that, you achieve your goals and you don't run out of money, are you going to be happy? And they're like, yes. I was like, fantastic. That's the average that we need to have. It's your average. Are you on track for your plan? And if you are, you get 2 thumbs up. We move on with life. And if you're not, we need to start making tweaks in order to be there.
And Micah, that's so right on, because I have clients, all right, that live comfortably on about $3,500 a month. They bought their house a long time ago. They paid the house off, and the Social Security comes in, and they're great. All right. So we don't have to have millions of dollars in retirement to get them through. Now, conversely, we have our clients. They're in the higher income bracket. They're not ultra high net worth, but they make really good money, and they're accustomed to spending $10,000, $15,000, $25,000 a month. And their circumstances is so much different. All right. And that really now becomes more of a numbers game, because their pensions and Social Security, they're not going to give them $25,000 a month. So now how do we solve for that? That is so much different than the couple that have paid their house off 30 years ago and lived way below their means. So the comparison, USA Today, last week, the average American has less than $1,500 or $2,000 saved for retirement. So someone comes in and says, look, Floyd, I got more of that in my Roth IRA. I'm doing better. What does that really mean? Who's the average? Don't compare yourself. I think that's what we're both trying to say. Everyone is unique. Their wants and needs are different than the next person.
Amen. Well, Pops, a podcast is all about action items, right? What are things our listeners can do this week to help improve their situation? Now, it's a new year, which is fantastic. So number one, I'm going to kick it off with the easy one and say the number one action item, start working towards your cash flow. Understand what those numbers are. Again, pick those categories between 3 and 5. Where do you spend the most money? And let's come up with these ranges so you can track it this next year.
And the second thing to that, on the cash flow side of it, if you haven't adjusted your withholdings to max fund that 401k or that TSP, I think that's the second thing that you do. And if you've already done that, congratulations. Have you funded that traditional IRA so we can do the Roth conversion, or what was referred to as the backdoor IRA, are to be in the top 5 things you do?
Absolutely. And the second thing is have a written plan down that says any unexpected money that you get, what's your plan with it? It could be as simple as 50-50, 50% to the future, 50% to today. We could break it down a little bit more, as Floyd kind of broke down. But even in Floyd's rules, it was 50% for the future. Any additional money you have coming in. Yes, I know inflation's real. Yes, I know groceries are more expensive, but they're still going to be expensive in the future. And we got to be setting money aside to make sure you are taken care of.
And then, Mike, and I don't think either one of us are saying be so anal that at the end of the month, if you're balancing your checkbook and you have an extra $20, put 10 here and 10 here. I don't think we're saying that. What we're saying is just watch the cash flow, because if you overspend, what you earn, it's going to be hard to make up that difference later on in life.
Amen. Well, Pops, as always, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast.
Always my pleasure. Yeah.
To all of our listeners, I hope you have a wonderful January. Happy New Year. And until next time, happy planning.